When Thurgood Marshall was nominated in 1967 to serve on the Supreme Court, the first black American to receive such a nomination, he faced strong opposition from Southern senators. During Marshall's hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, the focus was less about his qualification and more about his identity as a black man. Marshall, a brilliant civil rights attorney who argued numerous cases before the Supreme Court, faced questions such as, are you prejudiced against white people in the South? Fortunately, better heads prevailed, and Marshall ultimately secured the nomination. His legacy on the bench includes decisions that advanced individual rights, supported the right to abortion, and championed the First Amendment. That was a little over half a century ago. Fast forward to the present. The man on your screen is Adil Manji, an accomplished attorney whom President Biden nominated to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals last November, potentially making him the first Muslim judge to serve on a federal appeals court. It's an historic nomination. Manji is a graduate of Harvard and Oxford universities. He's well respected in the legal community for his stellar record as a commercial litigator and his contributions to the advancement of civil rights for Muslims and incarcerated Americans. The American Bar Association rated him as highly qualified for the bench, but Manji's nomination is now in peril due to a coordinated campaign by Republican senators to smear him as a terrorist and anti-Semite, despite his endorsements from both the Anti-Defamation League and the American Jewish Committee. During a Senate confirmation hearing in December, Manji was faced with aggressive, insulting questions that echo post-9/11 hysteria. The Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, for example, asked Manji whether, quote, you celebrate 9/11? In response, Manji said, quote, I don't think anyone can feel more strongly about what happened than someone who was there and saw it with their own eyes, smoke billowing from the towers. It was my city that was attacked, end quote. Manji was also questioned about his stance on Hamas. On Wednesday, White House spokesperson Andrew Bates called the attacks on Manji Islamophobic. Mr. Manji, who has lived the American dream and proven his integrity, is being targeted by a malicious and debunked smear campaign solely because he would make history as the first Muslim to serve as a federal appellate judge, end quote. It's worth noting that this is mostly, but not exclusively, a Republican thing. A small number of Democratic senators, 3 to be exact, have come out and said that they have problems with Manji's affiliation with a criminal justice group whose work includes defending individuals charged with murdering police officers, though notably, Manji himself has never defended an individual accused of killing a police officer. Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, on the far right, she's a Democrat, on the far right of your screen, became the 3rd Democrat this week to announce her opposition to Manji, joining Senators Catherine Cortez Masto and Joe Manchin. Their stance comes after intense lobbying from law enforcement groups. The irony here is especially incredible when you consider that, according to PBS, quote, Senator Cortez Masto has voted for at least one judicial nominee in the past who represented a man charged with murdering a police officer. And that was under the Trump administration, and so is Senator Ted Cruz, as well as a number of other Republicans. But none of them are Muslim. My next guest, Gregory Discant, has a unique perspective, having worked with both Adil Manji and the late Thurgood Marshall. Discant served as Thurgood Marshall's law clerk and years later went on to establish his own law firm in New York City, where he recruited Adil Manji to join him. He's also a former chief appellate attorney for the Southern District of New York. Gregory, great to see you. Thank you for being here. So you know all the parts of this story. You know the history. You know, the kerfuffle that's going on in the Senate. What do you make of it?
Well, first, thank you, Ali, for being here.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be on your show. Let me tell you a little bit about Adil first. Adil Manji, I recruited him 25 years ago at Harvard Law School. I was the chair of the firm. He was a law student. This is a man who could have done anything in the world. He was a native of Pakistan. He was a graduate of Oxford Law School. He could have gone back to Pakistan and been a leader in his country. He could have stayed in England and been a barrister and a success. He wanted to be an American. He wanted to come to this country, the land of opportunity, and he did. We hired him. He had a dazzling career, as you outlined in your opening remarks, and he's defended the rights of Muslim Americans at the same time. He's now a proud American and a proud Muslim, and I'm proud to have him as my friend and to support him as the first Muslim American on the Court of Appeals. As you mentioned, I had the privilege of working with Justice Thurgood Marshall, a truly great American. And he faced prejudice of kind similar to that Adil's been facing. The hearings were kind of a disaster for his opponents because, as the questioning you outlined suggested, their essential tenor was, can a Muslim be a true American? So let's pass by that, because the criticism has retreated because of the fair charges of Islamophobia, and moved.
It's sort of exposed itself.
Yeah, we can't. This can't be our position. So they've moved on to the suggestion that he is somehow supportive of attacks on law enforcement. It is all based on the work he did for this organization called the Alliance for Families for Justice. I know a lot about that case. We did one case for them, nothing more, nothing less. Our firm has no connection with the Alliance of Families for Justice. However, they sent us a horrible case in New York State, and Adil represented the estate of a deceased prisoner, a man named Carl Taylor, who was mentally ill and had gotten into a fight with law enforcement, with the guards at the prison. They handcuffed him, and all this was on video. They then took him down a long, dark corridor where there was no video and no audio. When they got to the end, he was dead. He did not die of natural causes. And so the lawsuit was a wrongful death charge against the state of New York for essentially murdering the prisoner. Adil opened in that case. I saw him opening. It was dazzling. The state settled immediately after they heard his opening. And what was the settlement? $5 million. The estate of Carl Taylor, a record-setting amount, reflecting the horrific things that had happened to that man. But that was not the most important part of the settlement. And especially given the charges now that Adil is somehow soft on law enforcement, the most important part of the settlement was a requirement that the state put video cameras and audio recording equipment in all the passageways of the prison. Now, that sounds like, oh, is that good for prisoners? Well, of course it is. It protects them.
It's good for everybody.
But it's good for everybody.
It's good for law enforcement, too.
Exactly the point. And it's good for law enforcement because it stops false charges.
Lots of police who have to wear body cameras have said, now at least our side of the story will be heard when you don't know what we go through. But the point is, people in America are entitled to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and they are entitled to a defense. We don't eliminate entire classes of lawyers because they might be involved in some form of litigation in which law enforcement's on the other side.
No, but that wasn't even the case.
That wasn't even the case, right?
I mean, it flabbergasts me, honestly, that Adil's being accused of being anti-law enforcement when this case protected the guards at the prison as much as it protected the inmates. And Adil's been endorsed by so many police unions. And in New Jersey, his home state, 3 former attorneys general and 2 former U.S. attorneys, Republicans and Democrats, have endorsed him. They've endorsed him because they know he'll be a good judge, a fair judge, a smart judge. And I ask the senators who are thinking about this, Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Rosen, Senators Romney and Collins and Murkowski, pay close attention to the facts, because the facts tell you there is nothing here but hot air.
This is why we wanted to have this discussion. And I'm glad you pointed out, because there are a few Republican senators who sometimes look at these things and do pay attention to the facts, and they may be able to undo the damage that's already been done.
My hope is that one day the members of the U.S. Senate will look back on their vote for the first Muslim American to the Court of Appeals with the same pride that the Senate looked back on the confirmation of Thurgood Marshall.
Gregory, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate the insight that you brought to this conversation. Gregory Discount is a former assistant United States attorney for the Southern District of New York.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.